Alright, it's nearly the end of the year, so I'm going to take you through a few lessons that I've learned in running this year that might help you next year when you start running. So obviously it is British winter here and it is pitch black basically, so I'm going to try and find some light so that you can actually see me in some of these shots, but there probably won't be too much running roll, so you probably won't be able to see any views because, well, there's not much to see. It's winter. So one of the first things I've learned is that you definitely have to enjoy the process. If you're entering races but you're not really running like week on week, then you're probably not going to do as well as you want to, or as well as you think that race calls for. So in this case, I mean, if you're not consistently going out training, you probably shouldn't be entering races and expecting good results, because that definitely happened to me this year. I took a couple of months off, then did a few races, and kind of thought, you know what, I can still do pretty well, but my legs after both of them, they were shot. They were just like, nope, this hurt. Didn't help that they were both kind of traily, hilly races, but still. The same goes for longer distance races. If you're not enjoying your long runs during training, whilst there is a possibility, you know, you'll really enjoy that half marathon or the marathon because of the atmosphere and the route, you're not going to feel motivated to train, and you definitely need to be able to feel excited for the normal runs, not just the races, because the races are one day of your training plan. Your everyday races are all the other days combined. The next thing I've learned is all about consistency and routine, because this year I've learned that they're key. If you're not consistent with your training and it's not part of your routine, you're probably not going to do it if you're anything like me. And that means, especially I found in the winter, if I've not got up and gone for that run, it's probably not happening. And the truth is, I like morning running. I like kind of like it wakes me up. So as groggy as you feel once you've woken up, I do find that if I've gone for a run, I'm going to feel a little bit more energized for the rest of the day. But without that, and that consistency of just rolling out of bed almost into my running shoes, that drive to train is lost. And it's one of those things where sometimes it isn't motivation that gets you out of the door, sometimes it is routine. And I think I'm learning that for myself this year, and it's hopefully something I could take away into next year. I probably still won't be one of those run every day, because I do think, you know, you need some recovery time, you need some rest time, you need time to do other things really. But there is something to be said about getting out there at the same time every time you need to, because, you know, at the end of the day, that if that gets you doing it, that's what gets you doing it. I feel like this whole video is going to be this lovely floating head. There just isn't enough streetlights around, but oh well, you can still hear my tips hopefully. So my next tip is all about your paces. This year I really slowed it down because I just wasn't feeling like it. I wasn't feeling like pushing myself. I wasn't feeling like trying too hard. Hang on a second, got to put my head torch on. Okay, sorry. and my overall kind of ability to be able to do a quick run has kind of been lost. So at the start of the year, I was kind of averaging a 23-minute park run, but I've really lost that, and I'm down to about, well, probably a 25 now, because most of my running has just been easy without that push or drive within training to do tempo runs or interval runs or anything that's really pushing me. I found that it's just so hard. So it's hard to go faster because you really need to train a variety of paces, and I've not been doing that. I've been going slow. I've been recovery running all the time. So next year, we need to get back on that training grind and go for it. Right, I think I should be able to take my head torch off again now. You can see a little bit of the route, amazing. Okay, so tip number 4 is all about how you train. I have found that this year I've really relied on other people to get out. So whether that be club runs, runs with my partner, runs with the family, I have definitely leaned on them to get me out, and there's barely been any runs that I've done on my own. Again, it's one of those things where I felt really anxious and I didn't want to run on my own. And so I kind of needed somebody else to be there in order to get out. And whilst that's okay, it does obviously limit the paces you're travelling at, because you need to, you need to be friendly. You should train with them. You don't want to run off all the time, do you? So it's limiting that exposure, but also enjoying the times when you are out on your own and you are able to go at your own pace. To go along with that point, I think there's only about 2 or 3 solo runs that I can actually remember this year that I actually enjoyed. I know there was one that I did, I'm pretty sure it was quite late night, where I just put in my headphones, I literally just ran, singing along to musical theatre. And it was at that point I realised, actually, you know what, I do still enjoy running, even if I've not been doing a lot of it this year. And it's getting that joy back in the runs that you do on your own, because not everyone's going to train for a marathon or a half marathon with you. They're going to try and stick to their goals as well. You can't always force them to go along with your long runs. It's not something they really want to do or commit to. It's definitely been a learning. Enjoy the times when you are on your own. Do things your way. Alright, my final tip. So tip number 5 is one, it's a lesson I'm still learning, but I wanted to put it in here to keep me accountable, to hopefully help you guys out. And that's, don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty about not running the pace that you wanted to. Don't feel guilty about not hitting your race targets. Don't feel guilty about missing a training run. Like, you have reasons not to do them, and you just need to not feel guilty, because at the end of the day, when you do get out, that's a massive win. And sometimes as runners we get so used to that consistency of going out, but I think the stats are is that like 1% of people are runners. Don't quote me on that though. And of that, like 0.01 of the population has done a marathon. So they're very small numbers, but we compare ourselves to all these other runners, and we really don't need to. The fact that you've got out sometime and done a run counts. So don't feel guilty about all those days where you stayed under the duvet, where you've come home from work and you thought, you know what, a night on the telly, that's what I want. You know, do what makes you happy. And if going out for running every single day is going to make you happy, then do it. If it's not, you've got other things to do, you have a busy schedule, just, you know, not do it. You don't need to feel like you need to catch up or cram it all in the next month. Because honestly, cramming it all in is going to make you worse. You're going to get an injury and then you're not going to be able to run. So do what you can when you can. All right, I'm going to swap this over. One that I felt a little bit guilty of all year is not doing as many races. I just spent a good chunk of the year just not entering them, not doing them. And I felt a little bit guilty for only doing really the 5k series that was right next to us. And there isn't any reason to. Races are a big commitment. And especially when you're not training, there's a lot to get out there and do it. You know, you've got to push yourself. So it's hard. So just take some grace and enjoy the running you're doing. So there you go. There are 5 lessons that I've learnt this year through my running. And hopefully we can all learn from and help with our 2024 running. If you've got any lessons that you've learned, pop them down below in the comments. And I feel like I never do this, but if you'd like to, subscribe or like the video to join our Running More gang. So I'll see you next time. It's going to get a little bit Christmassy, and I'm sure there's going to be a load more dark runs just like this. So hopefully this setup is alright. I know it's a bit dodgy. Sometimes you see my face, sometimes you don't. But yeah, they are 5 lessons that I've learned or are still learning this year from my running. And I hope you guys have got loads of lessons as well, and we can all make 2024 a slightly better running year. Happy running, everyone!